Welcome back to the 2-Minute Warning, back on the topic of the NFL today. Today, Jay and I are going to be ranking our top 10 running backs going into 2021. Obviously, got a few guys returning, just to name a few, and Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley hopefully going to have healthy seasons. So again, today we're going to be ranking our top 10 running backs going into 2021. But before we get into the video, I want to ask you guys our question of the day, and that is involving running backs in the 2021 NFL Draft. Who do you guys think the best running back is right now? I guess it's between Etienne and Najee Harris of Alabama, but I mean, could it be a sleeper such as Trey Sermon from OSU that becomes the best quarterback out of that draft? So who do you guys think, the best running back out of that draft? Comment below what your opinion is, and at the end of the video, I guess you will hear Jay and I's opinion about that. But Jay, give us maybe some honorable mentions, and we're going to start at 10 and go up to 1.
A big honorable mention that I think could or should be a top 10 running back is Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think he's not making my list, but the money you're paying him, I believe he signed I think it was 6 years, $90 million, or 5 years, $90 million. He's making over double digits, and he's not doing great. He's declining. He should be in this list, but he's not going to make it. And a couple other guys that are pretty good rookies and I think have a good chance going forward. Antonio Gibson, if he doesn't get hurt again. James Robinson, he's a pretty good guy that didn't make my list, but a lot of the honorable mentions are going to be rookies for me. But getting in, or do you want to name any?
I know. I just want to say that my Zeke logic is I don't know. I don't want to say I like Zeke. He's obviously fallen off, but my logic is I think right now as a Cowboy he's at rock bottom. So I think he fumbled the most he's ever fumbled last season. He probably had one of his worst seasons yardage-wise. So I think he's only got up to go from where he's at right now. So I do think Zeke is worth mentioning, but definitely not in my top 10 either.
Fair enough.
But yeah, go ahead.
For number 10 on my list, I'm going to go with one of the rookie running backs, and this might be a surprise pick, but it is going to be Cam Akers from the Los Angeles Rams, a guy that I understand it might seem to be a bold take because he doesn't have the greatest stats, but this past year he didn't start a lot of games, and towards the end of the season when he started getting the right playing time, you could see the guy was a double threat. He could run the ball well, he was shifty, he could slip in between the small cracks the offensive line gave him, and he was great catching the ball out of the backfield, and that's what I like about him, being a dual threat. And I think now that they see he could be the starter, he's going to progress and be a top running back in the league, and especially with Matt Stafford, he's never had a running back to work with this before. So I definitely think his game is going to go up, and I think number 10 fits him.
Yeah, I like Cam Akers too. He's definitely very good out of the backfield. But my number 10 spot is going to J.K. Dobbins, also another rookie of the Baltimore Ravens. I think he obviously sharing carries with Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson obviously is essentially a third running back for that team. But J.K. put up 9 touchdowns last year and just shy of 1,000 yards, just shy of 900 yards, sorry. So he had a pretty good season production-wise, and certainly a lot of touchdowns. They used him in the red zone a lot, and he was pretty effective there. So I like J.K. Dobbins. That's my number 10 spot out of Baltimore.
Fair enough. Number 9, I'm going to go with another rookie, but my final rookie, and Jonathan Taylor from the Indianapolis Colts. A similar thing as Cam Akers. He didn't get a lot of starting time, but once we found out he can be the starter, he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. It still will be hard to compete for him when he's got a backfield with Nyheim Hines and a healthy Marlon Mack. It won't come easy to always have the number 1 spot, but if you can earn that number 1 spot officially in that backfield, it shows that he has the top talent. And we saw him run. He's run for 200 yards before in the playoffs. He ran all over the Buffalo Bills, and I just think moving forward, I think with Carson Wentz, an athletic quarterback that could possibly hit him out of the backfield as well, this guy is going to go up in the rankings. But right now, number 9, I think, fits him well.
Yeah, my number 9 is going to go to Josh Jacobs of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think, first of all, I like his story coming out of Alabama. He came from kind of some Cinderella story, playing for Alabama, somehow got a roster spot, and now here he is in the league. So I like his story. He's not necessarily a huge physically, he's not a very large guy, but he's a downhill runner. He runs people over. He's fast in open spaces. I like Josh Jacobs a lot. Put up 12 touchdowns last year and just over 1,000 yards. So he is going to be my number 9 spot on this list.
Yeah, that makes sense because I have him at number 8, and I do think he could be higher, but being this Raiders team this past year, I think Josh Jacobs 2 years ago, he kind of got gypped of Offensive Rookie of the Year, went to Kyler Murray. And this past year, he took a small setback. I think he had about 200 yards less than he did his rookie year. But a couple reasons being, this Raiders team wasn't great. You saw a couple games that got blown out by the Falcons 43-6. Clearly, there was no run game that was going to save them then. And then when you're in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs, you play twice a year. That is just not going to be a run-centric game. That is going to be a game you play through the air. And therefore, I think on a team or with a Raiders team that runs more, he would be able to go up on this. But I think 8 suits him well given the situation he is in.
Yeah, my number 8 is going to be Jonathan Taylor of the Colts. I think he does. He runs the ball well. One of the reasons why the Colts were in the playoffs last year. Shares carries with Nyheim Hines, is that right?
Yeah.
Shares carries with another young running back that's pretty good, just like J.K. Dobbins of the Ravens. They share carries, still managed to put up 1,000 yards, as Jonathan Taylor did, and you named a lot of good things about him. I like what he does, and he runs as if he's been in the league for a while, and he's only a rookie. So future's bright for Jonathan Taylor, and he's in my 8th spot.
Fair enough. At number 7, I have Nick Chubb, and I understand this might be a bold take how far back he is. A lot of people have him a top 5, top 3 spot, and this isn't a knock on Nick Chubb. I mean, the dude's the biggest reason the Browns are considered the best backfield in the NFL, him and Kareem Hunt. But I just like this top 6 that I have in front of him better. Like I said, I like Nick Chubb, and I like what he's doing for the Browns, and I think he could be a big reason as to why the Browns make an AFC championship, but I just like who I got on this list ahead of him more.
Yeah, at 7th spot, I like the Nick Chubb. I do have him a little higher on the list, but you make a solid argument of why he's in your. You had him at 6 or 7? 7, yeah. So my number 7 spot is going to be Aaron Jones of the Green Bay Packers. We watch a lot of the herd of Colin Cowherd. He likes him as a top 2 back in the league, which I think is crazy. But if you look at lists just of top running backs from NFL, from ESPN, whatever, Aaron Jones is involved in there. So that's why I have him at 7. I got to have him on the list. But I don't know. I guess you see other lists that have him at higher. But I think the 7th spot fits him. He does a good job of running the football for the Packers. I think it's big that they got him back. I think he was one of the reasons why the Packers were in their NFC Championship position. But Aaron Jones, physically, he's a pretty small guy. Just to name one game, that was obviously just one game. But in the NFC Championship, he fumbled the ball twice, only one of which was a turnover. But I just didn't like the way he really handled that. And overall, he's not big enough to run people over. He is fast in open spaces, but I think number 7 is about as high as I'll go with Aaron Jones, so that's where I'm going to put him.
That's fair enough. I got Aaron Jones as my number 6 spot. A reason I like him at number 6 and being in one of the top 6 running backs is because he's made this part of the list with being in an offense that is extremely pass-centric. We could see Aaron Jones be a Colin Cowherd type of prediction and be a top 2 running back if he was given that amount of snaps. But when you have Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, a top 2 quarterback in the league.
That offense is definitely pass central.
So I'm not, and Aaron Jones is still shining with the amount of snaps he's getting. And it's not like he's playing unlimited snaps and isn't getting the ball, but it's not like he wouldn't be getting more if he played on a different offense that didn't have a top 2 quarterback in the league. But I like Aaron Jones because he's kind of a guy that could play anywhere. He's good at pass blocking. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball. He's not like the best at what he is at any single one of those, but he's well-rounded all around, and that's why I think he's at number 6 and could be higher if he was on a different situation.
Yeah, my number 6 is also, like you said, a guy that I would love to have higher on my list, but I like the top 5 better, is Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. Obviously, the Browns have the best backfield in the league for a reason, and he really is that reason. But he shares carries with Kareem Hunt, who was once also very good and has kind of mellowed out as far as his talent, but he's still pretty good running back in Kareem Hunt. So the backfield is top 2 in the league, but I think both running backs, I think Nick Chubb is, like I said, I have him at 6, and Kareem Hunt's probably just outside of my top 10 or 12. So combined, they're really good, but I think Nick Chubb fits right in the 6th spot. He had 12 touchdowns last year and just over 1,000 yards. He runs the ball really well. He's big. He can run people over. He's fast, all of the above. But I think 6 is about as high as I'll go, and that's where I like Nick Chubb at 6.
Fair enough. At number 5, I have Alvin Kamara. I seriously think outside of Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, I think, is the best running back when it comes to dual threat in rushing the ball and receiving the ball. When he's playing with Drew Brees, he gets 10, 11, 12 targets a game, and that is just insane for a running back. Not sure how his receiving game is going to go with Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, but pure and raw talent, I think he fits number 5. He's kind of like a Le'Veon Bell, where his game isn't exactly about patience, where Le'Veon Bell sits back, has patience, and slips through the cracks, but he's got that similar frame where he can slide through the small holes that the Saints give him, and he's just a touchdown machine. We saw on Christmas Day the dude put up 6 touchdowns in one game, so I do think the 5th spot fits him.
Who's that against?
Vikings.
I think it was the Vikings, yeah. I just remember watching that as well. So my number 5 spot is going to go to Christian McCaffrey with the Panthers. I like Christian McCaffrey a lot. You said he's the highest paid back in the league. The guy's got talent. Coming off an injury, had he had a healthy season last year of 1,000 yards, I probably would have had him at 3 or something. So the 5 spot is largely because of an injury last year that kept him off the field completely. But of his three healthy years, I think he's had 3 healthy years. He's had 2 1,000-yard seasons. Sorry, he's only had 3 total seasons. 2 healthy years, both were 1,000 yards, put up 15 touchdowns in one, 7 in the other. So that's pretty consistent, good output from your running back. Christian McCaffrey is super, super fast and is super good out of the backfield receiving passes. He really does it all very well. I think plenty of people, you might be about to do it, make an argument for he's the best running back in the league. But coming off an injury, I don't think that's really justifiable. So I like Chris McCaffrey in the 5 spot.
Yeah, that's fair enough. At number 4, I'm kind of a similar situation, going with Saquon Barkley. I'm holding him back just because of the injury, and a running back can only really be as good as your team. We saw Saquon Barkley, great rookie year, second year. He didn't do too well because of that Giants offensive line couldn't give him holes, they couldn't give him protection, and the Giants offense, led by Daniel Jones, was never consistently on the field. The defense was always being tired out on their side. So Saquon Barkley had limited minutes just because the Giants offense was so terrible. And now into year 3, he's coming off an injury. I like his raw talent. He might be the strongest running back in the NFL, but due to the injury, it got him at number 4, but still a perfect spot to be on this list.
Yeah, I like Saquon at 4 as well. Like he said, 1,300 rushing yards his rookie year and put up 11 touchdowns. Second year, still hit 1,000 yards, but kind of fell off. But I think this is a guy you can make an argument for number 1 if he has a healthy season this year. Like I said, if he's got the talent, but coming off injury, you can't put him that high. So number 4 fits him pretty well.
Yeah, fair enough. At number 3, I got Dalvin Cook, who I think could. I seriously think anywhere 1 through 5 of these guys, you can make the argument to be number 1. It's just the guy you're asking. But Dalvin Cook, loved him coming out of FSU. Rookie year is kind of him and Kareem Hunt for rookie of the year, but Dalvin Cook did get hurt. Fast forward, look who's ahead now. Dalvin Cook is just making a name for himself. Another guy that is good in the receiving game, and he's really, I think the Vikings, we see them as a playoff team this year. You take Dalvin Cook away, they're not a playoff team anymore, and that just shows how valuable he is. And to me, he's just a slightly smaller Derrick Henry when it comes to running the football, but when it comes to receiving the football, he's twice as better as Derrick Henry. But just have him at number 3. I think it's a perfect spot.
Yeah, number 3, I have Alvin Kamara. I do think he is kind of unanimously the best receiving running back in the league, best dual threat. But it's interesting to see, you brought it up, that played perfectly into Drew Brees' deteriorating arm strength at the end of his career. So maybe with Jameis Winston, that he won't be quite as useful, but last year he has 930-something rush yards and almost as many receiving yards and 16 touchdowns out of the backfield. So my point is, he is almost just as effective yardage-wise as running and receiving the football. So he's very good both ways. And the only thing that I think might be holding him back for the future, might drop him out of the 3 spot, is just the fact that a different offense is coming for the Saints without Drew Brees.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, it could go the other way around, and that's what Jameis Winston needed. He needs a safety blanket to throw around. We could see his numbers even go up somehow, some way, but we'll just have to see how it plays out. And number 2, this may be a shock, but I have Derrick Henry falling short of the crown. He's at number 2. Yes, he's coming off a 2,000-yard season. And yes, you can make the argument he's the number 1 back in the NFL, and I'm not going to argue against you. But for me, obviously this makes it clear. I got McCaffrey at 1, but at 2, Derrick Henry. I love the dude. He's the strongest back in the NFL, greatest strict running back in the NFL, but his receiving game holds him back from being number 1 on my list. Respect to him. I'm not hating on him. I gave him the number 2 spot, but he does not hold the crown for me.
My number 2 is going to be Dalvin Cook. 1,600 rushing yards last year, 16 touchdowns, multiple 200-yard games. We said it a lot. He's similar comparison to running football with Derrick Henry, but much better out of the backfield receiving the ball. That leaves Derrick Henry at my number 1 spot. I think it's not fair that he's not your number 1 either, but we'll have to agree to disagree there. I think Chris McCaffrey, like I said, he could be up there if he got a healthy year or has a healthy season. I love watching him in college. He's really good at it. He's really maybe things changed in Carolina with Sam Darnold, but I think he really is he definitely still is the focal point of that offense, and maybe he won't have to carry quite as much with Sam Darnold. Maybe he's better than Teddy, but I think CMC is going to have to run that offense still.
Yeah, I like him in the number 1 spot. He's the highest paid back for a reason. I mean, the dude just last year when he was healthy had 1,000 rushing yards and 1,000 receiving yards. That does not happen as a running back. That is insane, especially when you didn't have a great quarterback making it happen. Now that you have Sam Darnold, I do think this team is just going to go to the next level. Not obviously Christian McCaffrey isn't going to control how Sam Darnold plays, but I think these two together, we will see both their numbers go up, and I think a healthy Christian McCaffrey is definitely the best running back in the NFL.
100%. All right, that's for our top 10 list of the running backs going into 2021. A little bit of disagreement, but comment below what you think about our list and what you agree and disagree with. But as far as the question today, Jay, who's the best running back coming into this draft 2021?
Kind of similar thing to how my rankings went. I like Najee Harris running the football like I do Derrick Henry, but all around I like Travis Etienne receiving the football, running the football, and being a pass blocker, so I'm going with Etienne out of Clemson.
I'm going to go Najee Harris. I think he's got every advantage, at least big advantage. He's bigger. I think he's faster. The out of the backfield part probably goes to ETN, so I guess he doesn't have every advantage. But Najee Harris is the more physical player. A game stands out to me. Last year, Clemson was playing Notre Dame. ETN had a couple lapses where he fumbled the football, and I don't know. That right there stuck with me, that I think Najee Harris kind of just has it more together and is more ready for the league than Travis Etienne is. But I think I like Etienne better. I like Clemson better. I'm not a huge Alabama fan. But I think the best running back coming out of this draft will be Najee Harris. I don't know whether he'll go. I like the Bills. Maybe they'll end up with him. I hope so.
We'll see. I think it'll be Steelers.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Either one of those teams get him, then I think they'll be a lot better. But that's all for the video of us ranking our top 10 quarterbacks, guys. Thanks for watching. 2-minute warning.